All right, let's welcome in Collin. Collin, I know you're busy. You just got done with the Memorial, and you're prepping for the U.S. Open. So thank you so much for your time. This is a real treat for us.
No, thanks, JJ, Tommy. Thanks for having me. I mean, I'm out of this world excited about this talk. I mean, I've watched you play basketball forever, Tommy. No clue, but
yeah,
to be honest,
I like your hat.
Yeah, we're being honest here, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
JJ's very excited. He's usually nonchalant about almost every guest we have on. I would say definitely every NBA player, and I would say most guests in general. And when this one got set up, he started actually, to his credit, he didn't hyperventilate like he does sometimes when he gets nervous, but he was just very excited. He was like running around and talking about how much he was looking forward to this.
It's only the politicians that I get nervous with. Actually, truthfully, I mean, I'm going to blow up my own spot here, but so Kylie, who set this all up and who works for us, we were walking our kids to school. She lives around the corner from me. We were walking our kids to school this morning, and I was like, Kylie, I'm legit. I don't get excited for every episode. I'm like, I'm legit excited for this. This is going to be great.
JJ, I'm 24. I don't know how excited you could be about this, but I'm probably more excited. I can't wait. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, no problem. We should start with the Memorial. So there's a couple things that happened there that we have to sort of cover. Do we want to start with your gaffe, or do we want to start talking about the Jon Rahm scandal or drama?
You pick. I mean, you pick where you want to start this podcast.
Okay, we're going to start with your gaffe. So kind of take us through this. Collin is in the lead. It's clearly thick rough. You're having, I guess, some trouble locating your ball, and you swung and you missed. And I think golfers around the world, for a brief moment, suddenly felt a little bit better about themselves.
I'm so glad people can relate to what we do. I mean, it's one of the hardest sports in the world. It's so mentally frustrating, especially when you miss the ball, and that's exactly what happened. To be honest, heading into that hole, I was not playing great already. I was already putting myself 1 foot back of trying to what I was ultimately doing in the day is win. I had not hit any number correct from the fairway. And normally that's my strength, hitting iron shots to the correct distances. That's where I succeed. And I flushed this pitching wedge and it flew 10 yards farther than I've pretty much ever hit a pitching wedge in my life. And then, we walk to the backside of the green. I look at the ball. I look at the line. All week practicing up into the tournament, I was working on hitting out of chip shots out of rough. So I was like, oh, I've got this. I know how I'm going to do this. And it runs away. You have water away. And I look at it and I hit it. And I absolutely see the ball not move. And my caddy had to go in and look because he was a little nervous that the ball didn't do anything. Normally when that happens, the ball goes farther down, but legit, I moved the grass and the ball did not move an inch. And probably one of the worst feelings you could have.
Could you kind of explain the difference in rough for a PGA event than how they have the rough for just your average day at a golf course? My only experience with this, I played back when I lived in Orlando. I played Bay Hill on the Monday after the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I think it was still called the Bay Hill Invitational back then, but I played the Monday after. And, I'm not very good now. I was way worse then. It was my second year playing. So the ball was in the rough a lot. And there were times where no matter how hard I swung or what club I used, I could not get the ball out of the rough.
Yeah, I mean, so normal rough, if you're just playing your casual weekend golf or whatever, you can find your ball. You can probably see it in the rough. And then you can make contact with the ball without having grass behind it. And that's the biggest thing for us. Can you make contact with your club to the ball without grass? And most of the time when we're playing on the PGA Tour, especially when rough is last week, you can't. So I talked to a player last week. They're messing around in the rough, trying to figure out what their distances were. And that's the hardest thing because every lie is different. But they pretty much tried their 9-iron, 8-iron, 7-iron, and 6-iron, and they all flew the same distance. They're all flying 140, 150 yards. And if a 6-iron is normally going 200 yards, you've got an issue. So, your weekend golfer is going to be able to still hit the ball out of the rough. It's not going to damage it that much. But for us, we go from if you're in the fairway to attacking pins to now you got to lay up almost and hope to make par.
Yeah. And that's why typically at the US Open, the scores are much lower than at really most majors and certainly your average PGA Tour event.
For sure. Because they grow out the rough, they bring in the fairways. They just make it that much tougher for you to like have to be on your game.
So does your mindset change at the US Open? Is it more about making par as opposed to hunting birdies?
You know, yes and no. You know, to me, what I've figured out is for the mindset I want to have is that I don't want to be afraid of going out and shooting a great score. Like you're already setting yourself back. And I did that. You show up early in the morning and you hear these guys say, oh man, this hole is super tough. Like the pin location is near impossible. It's almost illegal. Par is going to be a great score. And you already set yourself back from actually trying to make a birdie. We're trying to make a birdie on every hole and it's very possible. So, you know, mindsets I'm going in, you know, I'm not trying to make pars. I'm trying to make birdies. But I have to understand that pars are good. Like pars are going to be great. And I shouldn't be mad at making pars versus, you know, you go at a course and guys are shooting 20, 30 under par. You're a little mad if you're making a lot of pars.
Yeah. We're going to jump back to the US Open. I do want to just ask you about late Saturday, this past weekend. Jon Rahm finishes his third round. I think he had a 6-stroke lead at the time, if that's right.
Yep.
And tournament officials came over to him to inform him that he had tested positive for COVID, so he had to withdraw from the tournament. Where were you when this is happening, and sort of what's going through your mind when you find this news out?
I had just finished. I think I was like a group or two ahead of him, and I was in the locker room. My girlfriend was texting me. She's like, "John's crying. Like I don't know what's going on." Like so, I ran downstairs to the locker room, looked at the TVs, heard what was going on. And my stomach was just kind of in like knots, you know, it's like the worst news that anyone can get. It's something that we've thought about for this past year of playing golf, like what's going to happen to someone that tests positive. And, you know, obviously he was in close contact with someone and I was playing with him the first 2 rounds. So I tried to keep my distance, tried to just, you know, respect everyone's privacy of knowing that he very well could have it. So, but, you know, for the next hour or so, golf was not on my mind. It was just what just happened in the game of golf right now. This guy had a 6-shot lead, was playing unbelievable golf, beating up on every single player in the field. And now he's got a WD. Like now he's got a withdrawal and the tournament is like it never happened for him.
We were en route basically to LA. We had landed, I think we were on the bus and I was on my phone when I saw it come across my Instagram feed that what had happened with Jon. And so I'm sitting there, we're talking about on the bus. I think, first of all, to your point, we're all like worried about his health and everybody around him and anybody that's been in contact with him. You certainly have that thought first. I think we all can recognize the gravitas of coronavirus. But the second thought was, man, this guy really just missed out on a bag.
I think that was like 99% of people's thoughts right there.
What was the purse? What was the purse or for the winner this past
winner?
week?
I think got like 1.67. I mean, yes, I wanted to still believe that I was in this tournament, but a 6-shot lead, I need as much luck as I've ever had in my life. Things had to go right. I had to play really well. He had to play very poorly. So yes, there was that nice check waiting, very likely if he was going to close it out.
I think what's so interesting about this though, it's so different than other sports, right? And we had Adam Scott on, not too long ago. We talked about how hard it is to win on the PGA Tour. The best golfers in the world, you guys have supplemental income from endorsements and apparel and gear and your partners on the golf course and off the golf course. But we have a guaranteed salary. And so week to week, you don't know what you're going to make on tour. And so when you're in a position to make potentially one of your largest, paydays of the season and to have that taken away from you, I felt, I think we all did, but I felt sick for Jon. Because he was playing so well and he put himself in a position to get that money, to get the bag. and it sucks, man. It sucks.
Yeah. No, I mean, like you said, like I think every player for the next 30 minutes after, like, to an hour, was just like, what just happened? You know, like it's okay. I get it if it was someone that maybe he was in 30th place, but the dude was leading by 6 shots. But to your point, like, money's great, but like, dude, I would trade a lot of money for a lot more wins. Like, I mean, you know, like, you want to just win, like, hands down at the end, the core root of things. Like, we're just trying to win. So that 1.6, whatever, it's not going to make a dent in Jon, like, at all. I don't think he's looking back at that. He's looking back like, oh man, I could have won back to back. I mean, he won this tournament last year. So just having not that chance of going back to back now, it's like, that's got to be itching at him for sure.
Do you think that every golfer on tour has that mindset where they want the wins are as important as anything else? Because I mean, I can use the example of Kevin Kisner had a great comment. I think it was around the Sony in Hawaii, but he said something like, you know, 20th place pays a lot or something. I don't remember the exact quote.
I remember this.
Yeah. So like, I think some guys, and maybe, and you're obviously, we're going to talk about your world golf ranking in a second, but you know, I think some guys are in a position to win week to week. And so the mindset is that, whereas other golfers are just grinding away, trying to collect a check and not get cut week to week.
Yeah. I mean, some guys are just trying to make the cut on Friday, play the weekend, and keep their card for the year. But what I've realized, like, and, you know, I'm sure we're going to go in more depth, like, when I turned pro, that was the kind of the mindset, like, how do I just make the weekend? How do I just make an income right now and try and make some money to just keep moving along? Because I had no status. But once I changed the mindset, which was my 3rd tournament when I turned pro, because I heard Brooks say his mindset went from making cuts to top 30s to top 15s, top 10s to winning. Once he said that and I changed my mindset, my golf game kind of just changed. And it's not like I did anything different, but it's just how you kind of approach things, is that I'm trying to win. I'm not just trying to make the cut. I'm not trying to just show up here Thursday, Friday, just play the weekend and have fun. Like, I want to win. And I think a lot of guys, even though it's very hard sometimes in people's situations, sometimes you just have to somehow dig deep and get that mindset, because I mean, I think it just changes your personality on how you go into things.
Well, I also think it's your target line, right? So there's the old thing about you know, reaching for the stars and ending up at the moon or something. I can't remember the phrase. It's some old cliche.
I got you.
But you know, if your target line is to make the cut, if your target line is to collect a paycheck, then you're setting yourself up for, you know, probably like it's a mediocre goal, I would say. It's like if you started an NBA season, you're like, man, I really hope we get the 8th seed this year. Honestly, that's what I really want. I want that 8th seed. I want to lose in the first round of the playoffs, and I want to have a long vacation. That's my goal. It's like, no. And
you'll probably be around that 8th seed. Like, you'll probably end up finishing like 8. You'll probably just be outside like 9, 10. Like, it just works that way. And sometimes, you know, you could tell yourself, I want to win. And sometimes it's not going to be like that. It's going to be tough. But dude, like, when you think about missing cuts or just making the cut, like, guaranteed a lot of those guys are going to be right around the cut. And it's a mentality thing of like, how do you switch that?
Yeah.
So Colin, obviously, you know, we've talked about this with the NBA guys a lot, and we're not naming any names on any side or anything like that. But, you know, there are guys in the NBA to the point we just made about the 8th seed who, you know, they do it for the bag. Like, they just do it for the money. That's why they play. And that's a fine. Can you tell that about some of your peers? Like, is it a thing? Because the way that you guys play the sport is so different. Is it a thing where, like, you're watching gameplay and you can know this, or is it something where, like, you really have to know them well to get this understanding?
I think you got to know them a lot better. It's hard to do what we do because, you know, 52 weeks in a year, we're traveling. Some guys are traveling over 30 weeks, and our weeks are Sunday through Sunday, you know, or Monday through Sunday. We don't just show up Wednesday night and start playing the tournament Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So to do what we do and travel that much every week, like, you have to love the game. But there are guys that will do anything for some extra money. I mean, there's some guys out there, they're sponsors. I have no clue why they have it. And like,
really good golfers, by the way.
They're great golfers. They've won on the PGA Tour. Yeah. So I'm going to name a few because, like, you would never expect, like, right. Like, we see Shaq and Shaq's obviously retired, but you see Shaq do these commercials and it's like, dude, what in the world are you doing these commercials for? Right. So that's like how I view golfers. Like, sponsorships are huge for us. Like, this is our brand. This is who we represent. So you see a guy and he's got Louisiana hot sauce on his left front chest. And I'm like, dude, you love hot sauce. I mean, I love hot sauce, but like, that's on a whole nother level. So we see these sponsorships, and sometimes, the money's worth it and you do it. But yeah, sometimes it's for the money, sometimes it's not. But I think deep down what we do, like, we love the game so much that it's a grind for us, and it's a grind for NBA players, but it's a grind for us because, like you said, like, there's no salary for us. There's no guarantee that we make it every year.
I kind of want to follow up on this, and I appreciate Tommy's question, and this is something that Tommy and I have talked about, and I don't know how much we've talked about it on the podcast, but I think in our profession, there's a lot of guys that are really good at basketball, and they really like all the stuff that comes with being good at basketball. I don't know whether they love the game. And ultimately, as you get further and further along in your career, it's the love of the game and the love of the camaraderie and the competition and the process, right? The grind that keeps you coming back for more. It's guys, if you play 15, 16 years in this league, you love the game. On tour, I would assume there's some really talented golfers who are golfing because they're good at golf and not what you're describing, where they don't love the game. I'm thinking of one guy in particular who's basically publicly said this, but I'll let you pick this up.
Yeah. There's always going to be those guys. Like, you've seen it, right? Like, there's always going to be those guys, and you can already see it in guys when you watch them on TV or whatever. Like, you just know that this guy's just here just because they're good at it. They don't care they don't care about anything else. They just want to go cash the check and go on. And but you're right, dude. Like, what motivates me is just, I want to compete. Like, I just want to beat everyone at anything, like, not just golf. I want to beat everyone at everything. Like, I want to beat you at a 3-point contest. Will I? Probably not, but like, shoot, put me up. Like, let's set this up.
Try
I'm
it.
ready.
We're trying it regardless.
I'm ready. I can still shoot. Don't worry.
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna
airball and everything here.
We're gonna at some point we're gonna meet in person where there's a basketball court and a golf course close to each other. We're gonna do best out of 10 from 20 feet putting, and we'll do best out of 10 NBA threes. All right.
Okay.
And the total cumulative score is the winner. I think that's fair. I like that.
I like that. Wow. I'm going against a great 3-point shooter here. So I might have talked myself into some bad stuff.
Tell Colin the story. So JJ's been in Dallas, obviously, for the last 4 months. Tell him the story with Bryson and all those guys.
So, Bryson and Jordan are members at Dallas National. I think it's their home course. Will just joined too. I actually saw him out on the course one day too. But I go for Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Mavs. He's a member, so he sets me up with a lesson there. It's my first day out there. So you walk in, not you, but like a normal person, you walk into a private club. Like, there's some nerves already. Okay. You're unfamiliar with the layout.
Yeah. I do that. I do that every week.
Yeah. Where's the hitting bay? Where am I going? Where do I drop my clubs off? Like, the whole process as you pull up to a private club. There's the whole process. So I'm like 5 minutes into this lesson, and I'm just hitting pitching wedge, and I'm not hitting it particularly well. And all of a sudden, Bryson walks in with Kyle Berkshire, the long drive champion.
Yeah.
And they set their bags down, and then they're just standing there. And I introduced myself or whatever, and they're like, all right, man, let's see it. So I take a few swings, and then they leave. And Brian, who was giving me the lesson, goes to get me a water. He comes back and he's like, hey, man, I got good news and bad news. The good news is Bryson seems really concerned with your progress. And the bad news is I think he's going to come back in. So he stood there for the last 30 minutes of my lesson. And I've played in some I played in some big time NBA games. I played some big time college games. Like I've had nerves before on a basketball court. I don't know if I've ever been as nervous doing an athletic endeavor as I was hitting balls in front of Bryson.
And that's crazy because you're hitting in front of one person.
Yes.
One person. Have you thrown a first pitch?
I almost killed Mike Trout. I almost ended Mike Trout's career prematurely.
That would have been very bad for a lot of people. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But like I threw out a first pitch at a Dodgers game, and like I've never been that nervous in my life. Like you put me at a major championship, you put me anywhere on the golf course. Like it's just that's where you thrive. Like those are the nerves that you know how to like just channel into like great energy or whatever.
You lean into them. You lean into those nerves.
The
normal nerves.
No, it's not in public views. It was an 0-2 count kind of pitch. So just don't worry about it. It was a throwaway pitch. It was an 0-2 count. Might have hit some dirt, but you know what? Went up there. I think the form looked good. So
did you get cheered or booed when you got introduced to throw out that first pitch?
I got cheered, but to be honest, I don't remember anything of hearing anything other than you hear your name and then you walk out. But I had a bunch since I was in LA and I grew up in LA, like I had a bunch of friends that I didn't know were showing up to this game that they just had season tickets and they were all sitting there and they were all on like third base. And I was like, oh boy, like this is going to go very bad.
So Chris Paul threw out the first pitch of the Dodgers game and he got booed. Because all Dodgers fans, I would ask you. Actually, Tommy wanted to ask.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about this.
All Dodgers fans are Lakers fans. It's like the Dodgers and Lakers are synonymous in their fandom. So when I would go to Dodgers games, the like in arena or in stadium production crew, I'd splurge and I'd get a nice seat like somewhere near the dugout or behind home plate. So they'd come over with their camera and be like, "Do you mind if we put you on the jumbotron?" And every time I'm like, no, I do not. I'm here for fun. I do not feel like getting booed because I'm on the Los Angeles Clippers. Like I do not feel like getting booed.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I mean, you're spot on. Like I grew up in LA. Like I'm a Dodgers and Lakers fan, diehard. But I mean, Kobe was like my idol, and like Kobe, like we talked about athletes that I looked up to. Kobe was one of those guys, and sorry, bud. Sorry, not a Clippers fan.
Did Kobe have any golf connection that you know of?
Not that I knew of. I mean, I never got to meet him. But I mean, even if aside from golf, just what he did for not just basketball, but like for the people around him and the people that he cared about, like that's what's meaningful to me. And it's crazy to think that I remember where I was when I heard about it. We were actually at Torrey Pines, that final round last year. Like that's where I was. And now I'm going back to Torrey Pines. I haven't been back to Torrey Pines since because I wasn't able to play this year. I was playing somewhere else. I was playing in Dubai, but yeah, like I'm going to have kind of chills going back. I don't know what other people felt like, but I definitely will.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one of the most memorable days of my life for all the wrong reasons. I mean, it was just, that day still is so vivid in my memory. When did you, I feel like it's different for golfers than it is for other sports in terms of when they sort of fall in love with the game and sort of realize that they're actually good, because it takes a separate level of commitment to pursue golf, due to needing to find a course, needing to have all the right equipment. I could, as a kid, I could pick up a basketball and, go to the park wherever. My mom could drop me off anywhere I wanted. I could go find a game wherever. It's a little bit different in golf. When did you sort of materialize this in your brain that this was something you wanted to pursue and that you were pretty damn good at?
Yeah, so I mean, I followed when I was a little kid, before I can remember just walking. I followed my parents to the range, and I wouldn't be where I am today without both my parents. I grew up in a very fortunate household. Like they're as supportive as it gets. They brought me to tournaments. They brought me to these places. We joined this 10-hole country club right down the road. That like by the time I was like 12 or 13, they let me just drive a cart. And I was out there by myself. My parents would drop me off. I mean, it was like 5 minutes away. And, I just kind of slowly fell in love with the game. So by the time I was kind of 11 and 12, after I retired, retired from my basketball MVP of 8th grade, Thanksgiving MVP winner. After I retired from that, I kind of just fell in love with the game, and I just kept growing and growing. So I gave up basebball and basketball, and I'm not saying like I was going to turn pro in those, but I just decided at 11 or 12, like, this is what I want to do. Like if I want to give my full out shot of having my dream come true of becoming a professional golfer, like, I'm going to drop everything. I'm going to go practice on my own. I'm going to do this. So I was lucky. Not everyone has a country club they can go to. Not everyone has parents that they can just take time off of work and drop them off. But I'm thankful for those opportunities. I had to do what I had to do, and they gave, everything I needed. So I was very lucky in a sense of that. I had things for me, and things have just been going the right way, thankfully.
Did you feel like it was a straight line progress wise? Like you got better every year, or were there points where you like fell off and you weren't sure you were going to stick with it?
To be honest, I've been very lucky in life, and knock on wood that it keeps going in a great line. And, I have to be grateful for what I've done. I know, I'm sure hard times are going to be in front of me, and I want to be ready for those. And sometimes you can never be ready for those. Sometimes they just pop up in life. But what I've learned is just to be grateful. And I have been very lucky that I have been improving every year. I have been trying to figure out how to get better. But for me, like, I think what keeps me going is obviously I want to compete at everything, but I see no ceiling. And I think when you talk about reaching for the stars and trying to get, just get better every day, there is no ceiling. Even if other people around me think there's a ceiling, I don't care what they think. I just want to keep getting better. I want to win next week. I want to win the week after. I want to keep winning. So what's crazy is that, like, guys celebrate these wins. I've been very, very lucky to have 4 wins already in my career. But like, I celebrate a little bit here and there. And then it's like, dude, I want to go win next week. Like, I want to go win. And like, it's just in me. And like, you can't teach that, but I don't know. It's just me. And it just drives me to just wanting to keep getting better. So I have been very lucky to have a upward line of my improvement.
For most of us, learning a second language in high school or college wasn't exactly a high point in our academic careers. Well, for me it was, because I actually enjoyed languages. And Tommy, let me tell you, no, I'm serious. Hold on a second. I took 2 years of French, 5 years of Spanish, 2 years of Italian in college. I don't know if I ever made less than a 90 on any test or quiz in any of those languages.
Whatever.
Just
keep reading.
But I'm just saying, it came easy to me.
Okay.
It doesn't come easy for everybody.
Okay.
Now, thanks to Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app, there's an addictively fun and easy way to learn a new language. Whether you'll be traveling abroad, connecting in a deeper way with family, or just filling some free time, Babbel teaches bite-sized language lessons that you'll actually use in the real world.
Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go, in the car, out for a walk, really pretty much anywhere. Babbel designs their courses with practical real-world conversations in mind, things you'll get to use in everyday life. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts.
That's right, Tommy. Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you to improve your pronunciation and accent. So start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use promo code JJ. That's BABBEL.com, code JJ, for an extra 3 months free. Babbel, language for life. Look, some cities have it tough. Their sports team just hasn't come through in decades, leaving their fans with a difficult question. Would it just be easier to move to a new city and root for a different team? Now, you might think, yeah, right, because you know the hassles of moving heavy furniture, taking it apart, putting it back together. But if you're a longtime listener of The Old Man and the Three, you already know there's a furniture brand that might as well be made for moving. Burrow. Their furniture is easy to assemble, easy to move. Burrow's innovative modular design and super helpful instructions make assembling and disassembling your furniture quick and hassle-free. So when it's time to move, your Burrow furniture won't hold you back.
Burrow's furniture is designed for the way you live, like their award-winning Nomad sofa, which is a built-in USB charger, or their new Range collection of seating that features wider seats and deeper cushions. Because if you're going to be watching your team lose, you might as well be comfortable.
So ditch the warehouse and shop online. You get fast, free shipping on every order, which saves you an average of $100 on large items like a couch. Right now, you can get $75 off your first order at burrow.com/JJ. That's BURROW.com/JJ for $75 off your Burrow purchase. Burrow.com/JJ. Did you know that the average American has 97 points they could add to their credit score, but no idea how to get to them? The data scientists at Score Master cracked the code on how. Adding 97 points to your credit score is like found money. It means fast loan approvals, huge discounts, and low interest rates on everything from buying or refinancing a home to leasing a new car to applying for a credit card. How fast is Score Master? One member raised his credit score 33 points in just 5 days. Another 43 points in a couple of weeks. Scoremaster is so easy, it takes about a minute to get started. And if you hurry, you get to try Scoremaster for free. I didn't stumble my words there. That's right, try Scoremaster free and see how many points you can add to your credit score. Go to scoremaster.com/JJ. That's scoremaster.com/JJ. Again, scoremaster.com/JJ.
We'll make sure we'll have mentioned all of your upward trajectory going back to your amateur days as well when we go through the intro. You're talking to you and listening to how you're wired. This reminds me of the Draymond, I think it was Draymond or Clay said this during the Warriors run. This was either in the 16 season or the 17 season, but one of them said, they're like, we're addicted to winning. That's why we're so good. Because once you've tasted winning at the highest level, it's the only feeling you're after. It's the only feeling you're after. And obviously, like, as you get older and mature, and I've done this in my career, like you chase different things. Having a family is a different thing. The way I value and prioritize things at 36, I'll be 37 in a couple of weeks, is very
happy early birthday. Here we go.
Thanks, man. Is very different than how I prioritize things at 24 when I was first, dating my wife, let's say, in my third year. So I'm very excited to see your progression in that, and just, all the amazing things you're going to do in your career. I want to ask you about rivalries. There's rivalries in our sport, and we brought this up with Mina Kime. She was on the pod last week, and we brought this up with her and Miro. But like this Bryson Brooks Koepka thing is like it's the greatest thing that I think has happened to golf in a while. And maybe that's a hot take. I want to get some perspective from a fellow tour member on sort of what's going on here.
Yeah, well, I better watch what I say, because I'm sure you could lead me down the wrong path. We can go into a deep dive into this. Yes and no, it is great for the game, and it's not. I think it's great for the game because look at how much entertainment, look how much involvement other people are getting in on this. I think what they're doing is slightly childish, and I feel like rivalries grow in in the NBA, right? Rivalries grow because like one guy will just pick on each other, not because like social media, they posted something and then they're deep in the dives of everything. That's what it's revolved around. It's like, dude, this guy did something to me in the game. Like this started, like we're ready to throw fists, right? Throw punches. I don't think it'll ever get to that. Like in golf, like I don't think they're going to just drop their clubs and start fighting on the 18th hole. But boy, would a lot of people love to see that. But yeah, I think it is good to see rivalries. Like, when I was growing up, you had Tiger Phil, and like, it wasn't the same type of rivalry you see in other sports, but it was something that, coming down the stretch, like these guys are going after each other. Like they are in their own head and they don't care about each other at all. And I think these two guys like Bryson and Brooks, whatever they say, I don't think they care about each other at all. And that's awful because we'll have a Ryder Cup later this year and it's all about the team. Like you guys play on a team, you guys have to get along to some degree. We have to do that for 1 week out of the year. And, that's something that I don't think a lot of golfers truly understand, that chemistry is huge. You have to agree with me. Like, you have to get along with people, like when you're on a team, and it's just, who knows?
Rivalries are definitely created on the court. Specifically in the NBA, like, you look back at some of the great rivalries, and a lot of times it was teams that faced each other, players that faced each other over and over again in the playoffs, right? And in the last decade, we can look at the Spurs and the Heat, Warriors and the Cavs, Steph and LeBron. Like, there's just great rivalries. There's the other side of it is just like two people that just are annoyed by each other, which is what I find fascinating. And you talked about sort of having that space in someone's head, and these guys are going back and forth on social media, and some of it is a little immature. But when you're playing, what are you playing against? Are you playing against the course? Are you playing against someone else? Or are you playing against yourself?
I think you're pretty much playing against the course. If you're playing against someone else, you're playing straight match play, and they've already gotten in your head in a tournament, which is awful because there's 150 other guys that you're trying to beat. But you're kind of playing against yourself. You're playing against the course. You're seeing what limits can you test, right? Can you go out and shoot 7 under? Now, I don't set a score for what I'm trying to shoot for the day. Like, I'm trying to go out and make birdie every single hole. But when other people get in your head, other than match play events, like, there's an issue. So it's more just, how do you play against the course and try and beat it every day?
Colin, this gets back to what you're talking about. We were talking about a minute ago. I'm really curious about, in terms of how you, where we are in 2021 as like a society, when you think about what you're doing as an entertainer, besides just being, an athlete and someone who's performing in your sport at the highest level. We've talked about this with a fair number of NBA guys who understand, it's like, it's not just playing, you are entertaining, you're putting on a show for people. Is that something that you think about at all when you're sort of, not even just like what's happening on the course, but just whether it's social media stuff or whatever it is, how you project everything about like who Colin is as a kind of asset or whatever the word is? Or are you kind of just like, what, as long as I play well, like everything else will sort itself out?
No, you're spot on. And I think, JJ could speak on this as well, but like, I want to be looked at as more than just like, oh, Colin, he plays professional golf. Like, you want to leave like a legacy for, and even if it wasn't about golf, like, you want to leave a legacy that, you helped other people and your focuses are on other things. Because what I've realized, and it's crazy to think that at 24 that I'm able to impact even one kid, let alone maybe hundreds now. I don't know. Like,
I'd say
just to have an impact like that, it means a lot. So I watch what I do, and I want to be a great role model for kids. Like, kids are crazy important to me because I still feel like a kid. I mean, I'm 24. So when like a 16-year-old kid comes up to me and says, "Oh, Mr. Morikawa," like, I'm like, "Whoa, slow down, bud." Like, I'm just calling Colin. Like, I'm not a mister yet. I'm like 8 years older than you, and I just got out of college. So absolutely, like, when you think about what you do, and I'm not trying to change who I am. I want to be true to who I am and like be myself. But, you have to do the right things. You have to know that when you're out there on the golf course, like, cameras are on you 24/7, especially when you're in these certain groupings. You just have to know that, you got a camera on you once you step out of the car. But, in a sense, like, of social media and all this stuff, helping out other people, like, it is really important. And what kind of COVID taught me was that there's so much more to life than, just golf. And I think, I don't have a family. I've been dating my girlfriend for 4 years. We were fostering dogs all through COVID. And it was the best thing in our lives. Like, it was so much fun because we were just helping out just one other family, one other dog, like, just helping out. And that's the biggest thing for me. Like, how do I make my impact, whether the entire golf world feels it or whether a bunch of little kids that I'm, going to meet once in my life, can they have an opportunity that I was given? And so for me, when I talked about my upbringing, I was very fortunate, and I would not take that back, and I wouldn't trade it. But I realized that a lot of people in this world don't get that opportunity. And a lot of people will never get an opportunity. So how do I give an opportunity for kids? Like that's just really key for me.
Colin, Chelsea and I fostered boxers before we got married. It was amazing. Awesome. It was an amazing experience. To follow up on that, first of all, I want to ask you about sort of Tiger's impact on your career and your generation of players as well. And because you were just talking about sort of the impact you're having on the younger generation. In terms of golf, and this is why I brought up the Brooks Bryson thing. Like, how does golf do a better job of reaching a broader audience? And there's a lot of ways I think that this can do it, right? There's the accessibility component. There's, golf traditionally is a white, rich, stuffy country club sport. And then the third part of it is just sort of the personality. Like how do you guys ever talk about that on tour, just in terms of how do we broaden the game? How do we show our personality a little bit more while still sort of living within the traditional culture of golf? Because I know that still exists as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's talked about all the time, and it's not like directly talked about, but it's always brought up in conversations. You always it just comes up, right? How do we make this more appealing to the younger generation that's going to want to play it and take our spots when we're older? And I think it really comes down to me is just making it more fun. Like you said, when you grew up, like you could literally pick up a basketball and show up anywhere on a hoop and just practice, right? Not everyone can just show up to a golf course, pay $15 for a large bucket of balls and go hit on the driving range. People don't have access to private golf courses where, you're not bombarded and you got to wait for stalls. You're hitting around a lot of people. It's super packed. So how do you make it more fun? Like, do we open it up to par 3 courses, like at night? Like there's some I live in Vegas now, and they're like, there's par 3 courses at night that's just fun. Go out with your buddies, like have a couple drinks, like go out and have fun. Do we, obviously we've seen the top golf stuff.
Yeah,
the drive
top golf has been huge. Yeah.
Indoor, like that's how you make it fun. But on the other side is, does every 10-year-old kid want to go put on a pair of pants and a collared shirt and a belt? I don't. And to be honest, I'm so lucky in Vegas. I play at a discovery property. It's called the Summit. I show up every day, and I think a lot of people I show up every day to practice in literally a t-shirt and shorts. And maybe people are going to hate me for doing this, but that's the vibe that they have at this golf course and that they have at these discovery properties. I don't know if you've been to one.
Oh, I've been to a bunch. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
I actually, one of my buddies, his dad was the head pro at Gazer and at Madison. Yeah. So he would go seasonally to each one. Yeah.
I know where we're going to do our little competition. We're going to go to Cabo, and we're going to do that there.
Okay.
They've got courts over there.
That seems like a good plan.
So it's always like, yep, I'm going to be there.
The beach. I'll film you guys.
But like, that's the biggest thing, right? Basketball, you could just throw in shorts and a t-shirt. Like that's what kids are going to school in. You can't just show up to a golf course and not have people look at you weird when you show up with a t-shirt and shorts. But like, I think that's how you grow the game and make it more open. And I get it. Professional golf might be a little different. We wear our pants, we wear our collared shirts, but like just add in a little extra flair to what we wear, throw in some creativity into that. You guys show up to your NBA games. Obviously you have to wear your jerseys and everything, but you guys show up wearing suits or wearing whatever, and you guys get a lot of coverage on that. For us, like the coverage we get is on the golf course. Shoot, maybe I should start wearing suits out of the car. Maybe they'll get me for my 10-second walk. Like maybe I'll start something new. But like, look at that. Sometimes you see Tiger walk out with like a backwards hat and sunglasses. Like that gains so much attention because it's Tiger Woods. Like, what if we all start doing that? I think people will enjoy it a little more.
We need a PGA catwalk like they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude,
that's really a great idea.
Like when I got in the NBA, nobody was even like we had the dress code. People wear suits back then. Like that's all anybody wore. It was like, how many suits do you have? I have 12 suits. I have 30 suits. I have a suit for every fucking game. And you're like, that's a waste of money. But,
exactly.
But nobody was paying attention. And then like, I was thinking about this the other day. I get to Dallas and legitimately when we get out of our car and go through security, to get to the locker room, we have to walk through this, like, it's a stage they've set up with lights. They've got like one of those moving cameras as you walk through it.
Yeah.
and it's a whole production. And then they put up the videos and the pictures every game of the guys. I actually, after the first game, when I realized what was happening, I intentionally avoided, and I walked around.
You're not helping the cause.
You're not. I'm like, no, this ain't for me. This ain't for me. I just want to point out, like, I don't think this is a controversial take, but a lot of these barriers to entry, they're racially motivated. I mean, it's the same thing when nightclubs put in a dress code and they talk about baggy jeans, right? We know who they're targeting when they say that. Like, it's so I think there has to be some relaxation of sort of the traditional barriers of entry to golf. There's got to be a more relaxed culture in order to make it more accessible to everyone. I don't think that's like necessarily a hot take there.
No. And I agree. And like, who is it? And I get it. Some private clubs are very private, and we're very lucky to play them, and so they can do what their rules. But like, who are we hurting by wearing a T-shirt to a golf course? No one. You're playing with your group of buddies. You're minding your own business. You're not getting involved with the other group that they're looking at you like, oh man, you're wearing a T-shirt. Like, that looks weird. I mean, we just talked about. Over the past year, we talked about hoodies on the golf course. Like, to me, that is ridiculous because it's just a layering piece. Because it has a hood, it doesn't look proper to what we wear. Like, I love wearing hoodies. I love just throwing on a sweatshirt, and that's why. I practice in a T-shirt and shorts every day. But yeah, there comes a point where yes, there is that classic golf look, and this is what we do. We have to respect the game, and I agree with that. But the world we live in today, it's all about pushing those boundaries. It's all about trying to change the norms of what we've seen before, and just making it accessible to everyone, not just a handful of people and trying to reach one group when we're not reaching the next. How do we make this accessible to everyone? And I think that thought needs to be put in everyone's head, because it is really important.
I should mention one of the discovery properties I played was El Dorado, which is in Cabo. That
was my first one I've ever been to.
Yeah, and
wow.
I'm maybe I'll name his name later on, but so there's a very famous musician who's there. He's working out, and he's got his shorts on and he's shirtless or whatever, heavily tattooed. Great shape, guy's in great shape. I see him later on the course. The pro took me out, but I see him later on the course, and he's in the middle of the fairway, barefoot, shirtless, hit with a 7-iron, hitting the ball onto the green. Like, that's the relaxation of these discovery properties. They don't give a fuck what you do.
No, and it's amazing. Like, I think people, like, you bring a guest there, they have the best time of their lives.
Yeah,
because it's fun.
Yeah, and
for the average, for 99.9% of people that play golf, other than us PGA Tour pros, all they're trying to do is have fun. Yes, we're trying to have fun as well, but we do this for a living. Other people are just trying to get away from their day job or what they do, trying to get away from whether they're playing with their family, maybe they're playing with their buddies. Like, all they're trying to do is have a good time. So how do you make this a little easier for people to have a good time? Because it's important. How do you have fun?
It's Mike Melman's the guy's name, right? The discovery guy. Yeah. So Tommy, do you remember in the playoff series in 2014 when we played the Warriors in the first round, and Blake got called for something and he's next to the scorer's table and he reacts to the call on the scoreboard or the video on the scoreboard and he throws the water on the dude behind him? Yeah, that was Mike Melman's son.
No way.
Yes.
Blake, you are not invited anymore.
That is awesome.
Yeah. All right. Before we get to Eat, Pray, Dunk, we got to touch on Tiger real quick. And in just the research, coincidentally, you were born in 1997. That was the year Tiger won his first Masters, his first major. So there's been this entire generation of players. I know, Justin, Ricky, whatever, guys that are a little bit older than you, but an entire generation of players that I think have really been influenced and impacted by him. Could you just talk a little bit about sort of the fandom of watching him as you grew up? Because you were, at a very influential age when he was having his most dominant era of his career.
He was everything. And no disrespect to a guy like Phil or DJ who's been out on tour, but like when I was growing up, all I cared about was Tiger, right? It's all I cared about. It's all I watched. And to be honest, I actually didn't watch that much golf growing up. I didn't really care for it. I'd rather watch my Lakers win. But yeah, like Tiger was everything. And that's kind of who you wanted to become. That's like on the golf course, like, man, I hoped one day that I can go out and compete against this guy, because it was like the biggest dream. And I've been very, very thankful to be under the same agency, having to just know Tiger away from the golf course and talk to him like that, because it's awesome. Like, you talk about family now, and when he talks to me about, and I don't talk to him that much, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not like Justin Thomas, like, is very good friends with Tiger. I'm not there, like, but you know, Tiger and I will talk about other things other than golf. And it's the best thing in the world, because you could just see his love for other things other than golf. But all we know Tiger for is like his dominance in golf. Like, that is amazing. But yeah, that's the coolest thing, because for me to get to know people like you, for example, right? To get to know you, other than, oh, he's the JJ Redick that I knew that played on the Clippers forever when I was growing up. Like, that's the coolest thing, to meet other athletes, because you see what they love. And you know, it, like, we don't just love, like, golf is not my life. Like, there is so much more to our lives than just golf. So to know Tiger and to get to know him and talk about other things, like, it is so much fun. And I'm very thankful I was able to play with him a few times, obviously, before, you know, he had his kind of accident. Who knows what's going to happen next.